and cut. All right, so here we go. Article 220 for total load calculations for dwellings, the 2017 NEC. Here we go. So, first of all, we're going to talk about demand factor. Many branch circuits and feeders have utilization equipment that will not be used at the same time. Therefore, the total load on these circuits may be reduced by a percentage called the demand factor. And definition-wise, we'll say demand factor is a percentage that the load on a circuit may be reduced to calculate a lower electrical load. Now, the general lighting load calculations. This is going to be broken into several different pieces. General lighting load, cooking equipment, HVAC loads, and then some other things. So, first of all, general lighting. Although the NEC refers to this calculation as a general lighting load, this load also covers small appliances, laundry units, bathroom requirements, and most receptacles throughout the home. The NEC Table 220.12 specifies the number of volt amperes for each square foot of the building. For dwelling units, that number is 3 volt amperes for each square foot of living space. And notice that living space is kind of emboldened there. The reason that is that with living space, that includes the living room, the kitchen, the bedrooms, that sort of thing. It excludes open porches. You got a covered porch on the back of the house, but it's open. That's not living space. Garages or unused, unfinished spaces not adaptable for future use. So not a crawl space, not an unfinished basement. Now, if a basement was finished, that would be considered living space, and that would be a part of the calculation. And here's just a screenshot of the Table 220.12, General Lighting Loads by Occupancy. And here we can see we have armories and auditoriums, banks, barbershops, churches, clubs, courtrooms, dwelling units, garages, commercial, hospitals, and so on and so forth. They have the metric section there, and then we always go with the volt amperes per square foot, which is on the right-hand side. And if you slip down through there, you can see where dwelling units is 3 volt amperes per square foot. So if I had a 1,000 square foot house, 1,000 times 3 is going to be 3,000 square foot. So that's our base calculation real quick there. So first, the total square footage of the living space must be determined. So you may have a set of prints that you're pulling this information off of, and then you would have to go back and apply the information I was just mentioning there, unfinished spaces and things like that, and make sure that you're not including space that would not need to be a part of the calculation. Then we have, we're breaking down some code references here, and as I go along, I would most certainly be making notes. Stop the video if you got to, make some notes, and then move on, that sort of thing. NEC Table 220.52a deals with our small appliance loads, and those are calculated at 1,500 VA each. Table 220.52b requires each laundry or clothes washer circuit to be calculated at 1,500 VA. And don't let that fool you. We'll deal with 250 volt dryer circuits here in just a bit. But laundry circuit is the clothes washer, or the the washer. And then Table 220.42, the first 3,000 VA is applied at 100%, and then also under 220.42, the remainder is applied at 35%. And if you look at that reference in your code book, I've got mine right here in front of me. That under 220.42, that is lighting load demand factors, and it has the type of occupancy, dwelling units, hospitals, hotels and motels, warehouses, and then it has the portion of lighting load to which demand factor applies, and then under dwelling units it says the first 3,000 is calculated at 100%. Then it says from 3,001 to 120,000 at 35%. That's where those two numbers come from. And then beyond that, the remainder over 120,000. Well, wow, that's a big house. But that gives you an idea where those two components come from. Now, this first section I'm showing you here that is for general lighting load. You can see to the left-hand side, it's the it's the first 8 questions, we'll say, as far as putting this load together. Now, you have on the left-hand side in the form that I'm giving you the tables, the articles, where this stuff is in the NEC. So as you're looking at this, when you get your hands on it, make sure that you are going and finding those articles, so you not just know how to click down through the form, you know why and where it came from. It's very important. That will help you remember it. Table 220.12, total general load, so you'd have the square footage of the house, and then of course in the space next to that, multiplied by 3 volt amperes, gives us the general load there in line 1. Then on our next line we have 220.52a, the small appliance loads. Now you're going to have, the code says the bare minimum is 2. Most structures, most residential homes, you're going to put more than 2 in there. But that is the code is the bare minimum, as they say. So you would have your 2 in there, calculated at what? 1500 VA. And then our laundry load, 220.52b, would be calculated at 1500 VA also. Now it's not impossible for you to see a home that actually has 2 laundry loads, 2 washers. I've done some very large homes, 10,000 square foot houses or better. They got a lot of kids or whatever, and they got a lot of laundry. 2 washers. Wired a house for a congresswoman once, and she had a bunch of kids and had a huge laundry room and had 2 washers and 2 dryers. Then we have line 4, add lines 1 through 3. So it kind of catches you all up, and that's what this form does. It puts it all together for you. And then we have table 220.42. We referenced that a second ago, lighting load demand factors. The first 3000 VA, line 5, as far as this form is concerned, is always going to be 3000 VA. Line 6, subtract the first 3000 VA from line 4. So you're taking that base amount, subtracting that 3000 VA. And then on line 7, we're taking 35%. We're taking what's on that line before it, multiplying it by 35%, and then that gives us the total, derated at 35%. Now, line 8 tells us to go add line 5 to line 7. You'll notice on the form it's going to take you through each piece to as long as you're reading what's going on from step to step, to get you to the conclusion you need to get to. I've always said this form is kind of like filing your taxes. You put this information in here. Some of the questions are simply find the information and plug it in. Then you got to know what to do when you get to that next step, multiplying 35% and things like that. So that's the general lighting load. The next segment will be fixed appliance loads and cooking equipment.